Week, a new bill in the legislature brought Georgia religious leaders to the state capitol. State Representative Sam Teasley of Marietta is the sponsor of the Religious Freedom Bill. Supporters say the measure would help keep government from intruding on the free exercise of religion. Critics say, however, that it would open the door to discrimination, especially against the LGBT community. Joining me is Liberty Baptist Senior Pastor Mike Griffin with the Georgia Baptist Convention as well. You support the bill, as does the convention, and Bryan Long, Executive Director of Better Georgia, an organization that opposes this measure. Thank you, gentlemen, both for being here. Mr. Griffin, I'll start with you. There's already a federal code that guarantees a citizen of America religious freedom in the U.S. Constitution. Why does Georgia need its own additional law to that?
Well, apparently in 1993, President Bill Clinton and others like Chuck Schumer thought it was important that they would have what they called a Religious Freedom Restoration Act to be passed. Some court decisions, Supreme Court in 1990 had eroded some of that original protection that we had in the First Amendment. So they passed that bill. President Clinton signed it into action, realizing into law, realizing the importance of religious liberty. And
so you're saying this bill sort of shores that up, undoes that?
That's right, to help what was lost through the court decision. And in 1997, through another court decision, they said that the federal RFRA was not going to be able to be enacted on a state level, so you'd have to have what you would call the mini RFRAs to be passed. And you've had 31 of those in some variation, either through a judge or through the legislature, that has been passed. So you've got 22 years of no discrimination charges against this.
All right, so Mr. Long, how does this open the door for discrimination?
Well, let me say first, I strongly support religious freedom and the protections that are in the U.S. Constitution, but we oppose this bill because it opens the door to endangering children and discrimination.
How so?
Well, we're not alone in our concern. District attorneys, faith leaders.
But how so?
It opens the door to a new challenge, a new legal challenge that says we've had a case that allows people to claim religious freedom and put their values in front of the common good. We've already had a case in Atlanta where a pastor used his religious freedom as a defense for abusing children in his church. It's the House of Prayer case. We didn't have the law then, and that pastor went to jail. We don't want to give anyone like that pastor one more excuse.
So you don't see the need for an additional law here?
There's no need for the law. We have a strong Constitution.
And Mr. Griffin, I have to ask you, Calvin Cochran has unwittingly or by plan become a poster child for this very measure. And I do have to ask you, is that a coincidence or by design?
Well, there are two separate issues. The issue with Chief Cochran has to do with an employment issue. And
that's what the mayor is saying, and he's saying that he violated city regulations, but Calvin Cochran is saying that his religious freedom has been violated. So is this by design or by coincidence that all of this is happening at the same time this measure is being introduced in the
Well, I don't think you could say that that the mayor is involved in pushing the religious...
No, not the mayor. No, I didn't say that.
It's a totally separate... It's the same subject, different issue. And so I can't say that a RFRA would have any bearing on this whatsoever, because, again, it's a separate issue with federal employment law is going to be dealing with that, because he does have an issue related to First Amendment.
No, it's not.
It's a First Amendment issue. Okay. You let him write a book about anything else, and you're not even having this discussion.
All right, Mr. Long, back to you. How many ministers and religious leaders are backing you in opposition to this bill?
Well, ministers of all denominations and faiths. It's not just one denomination, unlike the Georgia Baptist Convention over there. You have dozens have signed a letter. I'm not sure how many, what this precise number is. I counted 64 today. But they're of all denominations, and they say that this bill is not needed, that their religion is not under attack.
Does that concern you, Mr. Griffin? I mean, a bill for religious freedom that is opposed by religious leaders, many religious leaders. How do you reconcile that and still get enough votes to pass it?
Well, you'll have to ask them that question, but the facts are this. 22 years you've had these types of state measures. Not one single case has anyone ever used a RFRA in order to discriminate or to justify discrimination. It's just simply not out there. It hasn't happened, and I don't think it's going to happen. Now, some people may be looking for this to happen. They may have other purposes for what they're doing, fundraising or whatever. I don't know.
You feel like this bill is going to pass?
I'm shocked.
Oh, definitely. I think the bill is going to pass because people think that their First Amendment rights are under threat in these days, and so did the Congress and President Clinton in 1993.
I'm shocked that he dismisses the concerns of a bipartisan pair of district attorneys who were elected to protect the families of Georgia.
All right. Have to cut it there.
Yep.
Wish we could talk more, but we've run out of time. Mike Griffin and Bryan Long. Appreciate it. Thank you.